Greetings, my name is Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. Well, I finally am up to my last video in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles month. It's the most recent release, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Danger of the Ooze, and it was made by Wayforward. I do enjoy Wayforward's games. They do something I call neo-retro in a way. They have a great taste for the old school, but they know how to update them and keep them modern. A great example of what they're trying to do with this game is just the title screen alone. If you don't understand the reference they're making, and I kind of wish I still had my NES cart of the original Ninja Turtles so I could scan it in and show you, but the pose the Turtles are striking is the exact same pose they had in the original NES cartridge's artwork. It's been updated for the new Nickelodeon cartoon, of course, but that is the exact same pose, and it looks pretty cool. And this artwork here, it shows exactly what Wayforward was trying to aim for. Remember what I said about the original Ninja Turtles game? It could have been good if it had some decent controls. And so that's what Wayforward was trying to do, update that game. Except rather than going for the core gameplay of the original Ninja Turtles, which was more akin to Zelda 2 if you ask me, if I was to compare it to another NES game, this one is going more after Metroid entirely, with one big maze to explore. So how did Wayforward do? Is this better than the original one, or is it like the last two pieces of trash I played with the Turtles license? Well, we'll find out. Alright, let's talk about the story in this game. Just like all the other Ninja Turtles games I've reviewed so far, the story isn't going to be the biggest driver in your enjoyment of this game. It's pretty simple. Donatello has found that Shredder has created some sort of super mutagen, or is trying to create a super mutagen, and the Turtles are out to stop him. Every time you find said super mutagen, the villain will pass it off to another villain, and you'll have to go track him down and try to stop him, ultimately ending with a battle with Shredder. The good news is April does not get kidnapped in this one. That said, there is another damsel in distress waiting for you in the wings. Now, I did do some talking about the last two, how they added banter to make sure that each turtle had their own personality and that they were a group. Not so in this one, but then in this one you're not dragging all four turtles around. Still, Wayforward made sure to put in jokes that help you understand each turtle's personality. My favorite joke happens to be at the very beginning of the game, where you insert your character name, or at least try to. When you try to, Michelangelo will come out and shove the name menu aside and give you your own name, because that's what he does. He likes to name the villains. And it's a good joke. Overall, the story's not great, but it's nothing that gets in your way too, so I'm okay with it. While this game is, of course, non-canon to the cartoon series, it does drop a few spoilers in there, or at least I think it does, as there is a mention to another set of characters from the classic Ninja Turtle series that has not made a return to the newer ones, but is definitely heavily hinted here for one part of the game, and I hope it's true. Alright, let's talk about the graphics in this game. They're a lot better than the last two games I played. In fact, the cutscenes look like they could fit right into the show. They're colorful enough, the backgrounds are layered enough, even though it's a 2D game, it still looks pretty good. The animation is fluid and the character designs are spot on. And there are a few times where the game shows that it was meant to have a cheesy 3D effect, because I have a feeling this game began development as a 3DS exclusive, and more on why this might be a little bit of a problem later on. As far as the in-game graphics go, they're pretty good, as the character designs fit the characters from the television shows pretty spot on. The backgrounds are also pretty good and pretty layered. So overall, it's pretty good. The camera is a little bit further away than I would have liked it to be, but then this is meant to be copying Castlevania and Super Metroid, so that may just be the reason why. Alright, let's go on to the sound now. Wayforward usually does a really great job of remixing the music in their classic throwback games. Same here, they did a top-notch job with the music. I think it sounds great. They also managed to bring back the entire Nickelodeon cast this time to do the voices. By this time in the series, Jason Biggs had already left the show, so the guy who replaced him also does the voice in this game, since this happened during Season 2. We also have Clancy Brown coming back to do his voice of Razar. All in all, the voice acting is great, the music is great, the game is just pleasant to listen to. Alright, let's talk about the core gameplay in this and what I meant by the fact that Wayforward was going after a return to the original NES Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. By that I mean it's an entirely 2D platformer, and it's one of the very few Turtles games that look like this. You can also switch between each of the 4 turtles on the fly, and each one of them has their own health bar. Also, if one of them gets killed, they get captured and will have to be rescued. This is very much like what the original NES Ninja Turtles game was, except then they added in a whole bunch of stuff from Super Metroid and a little bit from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and they did it in a clever way. First off, one of the things I said about the NES Ninja Turtles that killed it was its awkward controls. That is not the problem here for the most part, at least when it comes to the platforming. The platforming is spot on, and it's actually really fun to do, especially when you can ninja kick up walls and do the double jumps that you can learn. It is pretty fun. And then you also have that Metroid aspect of the game, which has a fairly good and complicated map to walk around, as well as some pretty cool upgrades. Now, I already mentioned that the bird statues were a pretty cool reference to the original Metroid, but they did one thing better. Whenever you grab a power-up item, this happens. Did you hear that jingle that it played when I grabbed that item? Not only is this a great callback to the original Metroid, which played a similar sounding jingle whenever you grabbed a power item, but it was the classic Ninja Turtles tones in the background, and it played for a few seconds even after the main tone was finished. I loved that little throwback whenever I grabbed an item, and I thought it added to an old school charm that really made me enjoy this game more. And you also have some pretty good puzzles to use with those items. You'll have to open various doors using throwing stars, and of course you'll pick up items that will help you get through harder platforming sections. Overall, I enjoyed the Metroid part. What I didn't enjoy so much was the combat. Here the controls are only so-so. Basically, when you do combat, you combo an enemy and then your turtle will spin in their weapons. And then you have to press a control pad to attack in a certain direction. Up will knock your enemy up in the air, side will knock them over sideways a little bit and confuse them that way. And this is where things can get a little trickier. Meet your new nightmare, crank androids with shields. They are almost impossible to get past until you have upgraded your up attack to knock those shields away. You will lose a few turtles trying to get past them. And sometimes those shell kicker combos don't work the way you intend. Instead of doing the combo, your turtle will either walk into the enemy or run away from the enemy, causing more frustration. And this isn't the only time the controls backfire. There are these laser grids that you have to get past by using smoke bombs. Unfortunately, your smoke bomb teleportation is a little wonky, to say the least, sometimes teleporting you into an area you don't want, and those can be frustrating when it happens. And finally, one last thing to complain about in the fact that there is no real game over screen. Rather, when you lose all your turtles, you'll be sent to a rescue room with your last turtle, and then you'll have to find out where the rest of them gone if you want to assemble the whole team again. This can be a pain, especially against harder bosses, and it's not like you can just go into a rescue room and find one. They'll be sent to specific rescue rooms, and you'll have to locate them on your map and travel all over the place to get them back. This is a pain. Fortunately, you can reset your game, but just be aware of that. You might find yourself saving more often because of this instead of less often. Losing a turtle can be a major pain in this. Alright, it's time for my final thoughts and recommendations on this game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Danger of the Ooze is a pretty good game. Don't get me wrong about that. It has some flaws though, and they can be pretty frustrating, but overall I enjoyed the experience. That said, this game was obviously meant to be for the 3DS, and I mean that beyond the 3D trickery. It is a very simple game with its 2D layout and its somewhat short quest and quick pace. That does not mean it's a bad game, it just means it wasn't tailored for the consoles. If I was Activision and Wayforward, I would have released this for $40 exclusively on the 3DS and then waited a few months to release the HD version on consoles for $15 to $20, similar to the way they did Batman Blackgate and Castlevania Mirror of Fate. Those were both great games and were well received. This one just doesn't seem to be worth the $40 budget retail price that Activision wants. That's not to say this is a bad game. I do recommend people play it. It's definitely worth trying. But at the same time, it is not a bad idea to wait for this to find its way into the bargain bin before you dig it out. I give this game about a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, worth playing, but wait a while until it hits that bargain bin, or wait for it to go on a digital sale like I did and grab it for around 20 bucks. I think that's a pretty fair price for it overall. Well, folks, that's the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles month. I am all out of Ninja Turtles games for me to sit down and review for the moment. So I am done. What am I going to be doing next? Well, a whole bunch of random stuff. I got a new headset that's wireless, so I might try my hand at some Let's Plays, as well as a few backlog reviews that I have managed to record the footage for, but haven't sit down in the editor to edit and create a video, so look forward to those in the next month. Thank you for your time. Tommy the Keyblade Master out.